Hi, I'm Spandex Yang, and I recently watched the new Netflix Death Note movie. Now, this video is going to have some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it and you want to, and you don't want to hear any spoilers, don't watch this video. So, for an American remake, they could have gone one of two ways. The first way is they could have created an entirely new plot with entirely new characters and just have something similar to Death Note. In fact, one of the things that they could have done is, since one of the rules of Death Note is that there can be up to 6 Death Notes on Earth at the same time, they could have done something within the same universe as Death Note and just had a Death Note happen to fall in America and somebody find it. And I think that that would have worked out really well because some of the characters in Death Note don't translate well over into America and how America works. But if they did that, it would kind of take away that problem and take away the problem that people had with them whitewashing and changing existing ethnicities and races of the characters that are already there. It would have taken care of that problem. Or they could have just done a pretty faithful rendition of Death Note. It didn't have to be exactly the same, but, just similar characters with similar motivations and a similar plot. That would have been good as well. But they didn't really do that. They didn't really do either of those things, but they also sort of did both of them. Because, they had the same character name, say for Mia, who I guess is Misa's counterpart. For whatever reason, Misa was too strange of a name to keep in America, but Light wasn't. And that doesn't make sense. My daughter's name is Misa. So it's not that strange. I don't know why they only changed her name. But it's got the same characters, and there are a couple of things that happened that were same in the original series as in the movie, but the reasons why those things happened and the outcomes of those events were completely different. And everything else, the characters, the plot, completely different from the original plot of Death Note. But in some ways they were trying to be the same. I didn't know what they were going for with it. But you've got these characters. You've got Light, who is kind of a dumbass. He's not very subtle. He's sort of geeky, a little unhinged before he even got the Death Note. But he gets it. And he wants to impress this really popular girl who attends the same school as him. And that would be Mia, who is supposed to be Misa's counterpart. And she's this broody girl who's smoking during cheerleading practice. One of those messed up cool girls. And you can tell that she's super edgy and cool. She kind of reminds me of Effie from Skins. But she's all popular, and I guess he likes her, and he's super excited to show her, this power that he found. And she uses that opportunity to jump into a relationship with him and sort of use him and use that relationship in order to use the Death Note. Which, not anything like the original characters. Misa and Mia are polar opposites. Where Misa was so in love with Light and so idolizing Kira and ready, and willing to give her life to his will. Mia is the exact opposite. In fact, she's mostly the driving force behind Kira. She's the one who's kind of the mastermind of it all. Big plot twist, she's kind of Kira instead of it being Light. And that, it's a twist, but it's I hated Mia. I hated her. She was just not an interesting character, and the way that the story focused a lot on their love story, I didn't like it at all. Gotta say, Twilight was a better love story than these two. It didn't work. It didn't make sense. It was super cliche and very clear from the start that she was using him But then you have the other characters like Ryuk, who William Dafoe like knocked that voice acting out of the park. But as far as his character goes, he's not the same Ryuk. Where Ryuk in the original was more of an observer and kind of didn't care one way or the other what Light did, he was bored and found it interesting what Light was doing. But with this version, Ryuk doesn't care for Light at all. He thinks that Light can't handle this and he's just hoping that he'd give up possession of it so that somebody else would have it. Like Mia. He really liked Mia. And that's, he's kind of ceases to be an observer, which defeats the purpose of his character. He's not supposed to do anything to help or to hurt the situation. And then you've got Elle, and there was some controversy before with Elle, when people found out that it was going to be a black actor playing him. Some people were really for that, and then some people were just not for it. Personally, it didn't bother me that he was black. What bothered me was that in the trailers they were showing him wearing like this black sort of ninja outfit, and he had short hair, and I was kind of disappointed because I love Elle's iconic look. It was my first cosplay. He, his shaggy hair, dark circles under his eyes, long sleeve white shirt, jeans, no shoes. I loved that iconic look of him, and they just changed it. And in the trailers, it kind of made him look more like, he was going to be a badass, sort of, in like a more physical way. And that didn't go much with Elle's character either. But going into it, I tried to keep an open mind. And when I first started watching it, I was like, wow, I'm going to eat my words. This guy is doing great. And then, he was sitting the right way and speaking the right way, and he was doing a really good rendition of Elle right up until this one point. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what point I'm talking about, where suddenly he just gets all of this emotion in his eyes, and I'm like, what are you doing? Elle doesn't have like that much emotion in his eyes. He's very, stoic. He doesn't show emotion. He's not driven by emotion, and this Elle was just kind of a child. He was throwing tantrums, he was having meltdowns, he was freaking out, and he lost his cool like halfway into the movie. Now, as far as the movie goes, there wasn't even that much interaction between Elle and Light anyway. Most of the story focused on Light and Mia, and then there was sort of like Elle's storyline that sort of took a backseat to their love story. And, with Death Note, part of it is just that intellectual battle of the wits between Elle and Light, good and evil, like who's right, who's wrong, who's justice, and that just never happened in this movie. Never happened. And I don't know why they chose to take that out. When Elle finally did confront Kira, or, Light, he was like, basically, you're Kira, and Light's like, nah, I'm not Kira, me? Like, he was not subtle at all, wasn't very good at hiding it, and then halfway through him denying, he was all like, oh, you don't understand how it is. Like, basically saying, like, I'm Kira, and then guess what? Elle didn't do fucking shit about that. He didn't do anything about it. He was too busy freaking out about Watari going missing. And now I'm gonna fucking talk about the rules that had changed, because at one point, Light wrote Watari's name down. He managed to find a way to find Watari's face and name, and wrote his name in the Death Note. Only Watari, though. Like, that was it. That was the name. No first name, no last name, just Watari. Which I got like 3 problems with. One, it's just a name. It's just one name. You need a first and last name to write in the Death Note. 2, Watari's not even his fucking name. I mean, I get it. They changed the names of, like, some characters like Mia, but they didn't even explain, that would just be his name. even if it was just Watari, even if he didn't have two names, it still doesn't make sense, because Watari is not fucking stupid, and L magically pulled out of his ass the conclusion that Kira must need a name and face to kill somebody. There's no way in hell that he would let Watari walk around with his name everywhere, telling everybody who he is, and having his face shown. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Why would he do that? That's just so fucking stupid. Like, there's a lot of stupid moves that these characters make that don't make sense, especially for how fucking smart they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be prodigies, geniuses, the smartest people in the world. And they're not. They're kinda dumb. You know, not only did they break that rule, then Light only had like 2 days to control him, and I don't know where they got the number 2 from, but that's not in the book. I have my Death Note here. I was looking for my original, but I couldn't find it. I've got a couple. So this is Misa's Death Note. It's actually my daughter's. But reading through all the rules, you just see how many things that they actually changed. Like, for example, I don't know where they got the 30 days from when Ryuk kept saying to Lei, like, oh, just leave the book somewhere for 30 days and then I'll give it to somebody else. That's not in here. And he can always get it back after 490 days. Like, they just were changing rules, and not for any particular reason, because that never even became an issue in the movie. Another thing that fucking just irked the shit out of me is that even though Mia was touching and writing in the book, she could not see Ryuk and she could not hear Ryuk. Why would they change that rule where if you touch the Death Note, you can see the Shinigami, you can hear the Shinigami, but she wasn't able to. And at the end when L touched the Death Note, like, he didn't see Ryuk. But I don't know why they changed that, especially considering that Ryuk really was fond of Mia. He liked her way more than he liked Light. And probably because she was a psycho bitch. Now, not only were they not able to see Ryuk, but Ryuk never even explained anything about Shinigami eyes. That wasn't even a thing in the movie. He never explained it to Light, and obviously Mia never got Shinigami eyes, so I don't know why they would leave that out. Now, another thing is they fucking, like, Death Note Ex Machina the shit out of something when Mia wrote Light's name in the Death Note, and he did this, like, weird turnaround, probably the smartest thing he did in the entire movie, but at that point it was already kind of out of character for who he was for that movie. But apparently, if you burn a page with a name on it, that person won't die. What? Okay, so you're telling me in the entire existence of that Death Note, nobody's burned a page. Nobody accidentally burned a page. No, it's not in the book. I mean, if you can change the characters, you can change the plot, but for the love of gods of death, you cannot fucking change the goddamn rules of the fucking Death Note. You cannot change the rules of the Death Note. And they did. A lot. It's not the same. I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe the creators of this movie had only read a synopsis of the series and they just didn't understand how fundamentally different they were making it. Like, I'll give it, it's not Dragon Ball Evolution bad, and it's not The Last Airbender bad. You know, it's not a terrible movie if you've never heard of Death Note, but if you have, it's just, you know, for how much they changed the characters, their characters aren't even recognizable anymore. Not even a little bit. There's nothing similar about these characters to the original. And so it's such a disappointment, especially coming from Netflix, because Netflix is known for really good quality shows and movies, and they just dropped the ball with this one. which is such a shame because I feel like I don't think that it's impossible for America to make a good live action of an anime. I think it's possible. I just think that the wrong people are trying to do it. Because I don't think a proper, like a fan of Death Note, somebody who's read or somebody who's seen the series and loves the series would ever make something like this. It's just, there's everything that we love about Death Note wasn't in this movie. The intellect and, the big power struggle between good and evil. None of that happened. The quirky characters and all the nuances that come with Death Note, none of that existed. It became some weird, like, young adult, love story between these high school kids. And their character types became really cliche. And then, like, when they were doing the killing and, killing criminals, they would just kill them in the most, like, gory ways. Like, it was, a lot of the deaths were, like, really Final Destination-y. And, like, that, I'm not opposed to gore. I think it's cool. I don't think they needed to rely on it so heavily. I don't think one person in that movie died from a heart attack. Which, that was, like, Kira's calling card. He didn't, some people died in bloody ways, but most people died of a heart attack. I don't know why they needed to, like, show off all the extravagant ways, like decapitation, jumping in front of a train, like electrocuting yourself and your head blows up. That stuff doesn't even happen. Like, I don't know. It's not the same. And I didn't go into it thinking it was going to be the same, but I didn't go into it prepared for how absolutely different it was going to be, unrecognizable. So, if you haven't seen the movie, I'd give it like, a 2.7, a 3 maybe. But if you have seen Death Note and you love the characters, it's like a 1.7 for me. But that's just my own personal opinion. If you have anything to add to that or anything that you disagree with, put it in the comments and I'll see what you have to say. But thanks for watching.